Hello everyone, we're back again on a looming project, and we'll be working on a jacket this time. And this jacket is actually a raglan jacket. Now this is the back, this is the front, front right and front left, okay. And these are the sleeves. Now this is not a difficult project, but because we're going to be involving a bit of shaping everywhere, so you have to be careful not to forget to shape all these parts, including these top bits here. Will also, there is a 3/4 inch shape here on top, that will match. You see, everything has that kind of, you see this part here for the sleeve, for instance, as you can see here. This part here for the sleeve is actually part of the neckline, See here, these are all the part of the neckline, and this is also part of the neckline. Sorry, this one. This is actually the sleeve. That will go here, This is the top part of the sleeve will come here, and this is the top part where your shoulder is, And it will match with this. So all these measurements you have to take into account. Now, of course, whatever measurements I'm giving here probably will not match yours, but this is for a medium size, so the only thing you will probably need to do is probably expand here. So what you can do is work with proportions. If you make this a little like 2 inches extra using a bigger loom, like the 22 inch, which is the 62 peg loom, or if you're using a Serenity loom, Sindwood loom, or whatever, first you must take the gauge. Then if 40 inches isn't enough for you here and you need more, whatever the extra that you have, you add it on here. Like for instance, if you put 4 inches there, here, you put 1 inch here, 1 inch here extra, and you add 1 inch here and 1 inch here. So that way you make up the 4 inches that you're putting inside here. So if it is 24, that means you want a 48 hip size, slightly above your hip. Actually, this is only about 24 inches. It's above your hips, So if you want 48 or something, you got to proportion out the extra amounts that you're taking for this circumference, where your back and the front. So also, if you are taking 24 here, make sure that you make these 12 and 12. So this is how you proportion out the thing, And of course, as a result of adding on the thing, when you're working also, you will have to add on every one of the little bit of extra measurements that you're putting. You just add on to this. But you leave these things alone, Here you see it goes in for 1 inch. Here, this one you don't change. You just do the overall amount. You extend it by 2 inches. Okay? Sorry. The reason why it isn't so wide is because this actually is the shoulder part, So the sleeve is going to come all the way here. So you don't need such a wide, usually you'll take around 14, to take into the circumference of your armpit. But you won't need that because this is a raglan jacket, And being a raglan jacket, you don't need the extra. Because this 10.5 is actually lower down on the sleeve, and the other part of it is covered by the front and the back. That's how the raglan works, because it's not actually an armhole here, because the raglan goes above and connects all the way up to the top of your collarbone, This part here, you see this? This actually comes here. Now let me show you. This is a continuous neckline. The sleeve will come here, both the sleeves, and then the back piece will be here. So that's how it works, okay? All right, now I'll give you the first part. Let's work this one first. I'm using the round loom, the one with the fat pegs, which is 41 peg loom. And I'll show you the yarn that we'll be using. They're very dark colored yarns. This is a 70% wool, 30% acrylic, and it's a shade of brown and cream, There's 2 yarns together, and this is very thick, This one, it uses between 6 and 7 inch, the number of the needles, So it's a 7mm, and this one is also very thick. It's brown also, dark brown. What do you call this color? Mahogany, is it? I think so. This is mahogany, I think. And this is 90% wool and 10% nylon. It's not very long, you know, it's only 120 meters. And this one uses needles between 10 and 12. So, you know, I'm going to combine these. What I will be doing is this. The back I will do in the dark brown. Completely in dark brown, the black. The one side of the front I will do in this shade. And the part that I'm doing it in this shade, the sleeve also will be done in this color. So it's the front and the sleeve, and the back, another side will be brown, and plus another sleeve will all be brown. But this one side will be in this color. So the jacket is going to have two tones on it, a brown and a cream. But they're going to be separated. So, you know, it's a kind of a, I don't know, hope it doesn't turn out like a Harlequin effect. But let's see how it goes. The whole garment is done in garter stitch. There's no, sorry, I didn't mention that. Everything is in garter, so you just don't have to worry about working 8 rows. You just start it off. You cast on all the pegs, the 41 pegs, on the round loom. Work in garter stitch until you reach 15 inches, and then we'll come back. Those of you who are unaware what a chain cast on is, okay, I'm doing the 25 peg cast on, but I'll just show you generally how do you do a chain cast on. First of all, you make a knot, adjustable knot. Make it a bit long here, you see, there's a bit of space. Use a crochet needle. Wrap it round the last peg that you're working. Now, take the longer side. Okay, this is actually the edge, you know, of the stitch. Alright, now you hold it. Wrap it round the crochet needle. Pull it through. Go to the next peg. Wrap it around the crochet needle, pull it through. As you pull it through, you turn your crochet needle slightly. Work it like that. Keep doing that. This is what is called a chain cast on. And when you come to the last stitch, whatever it is, you just put the loop over it, and that will be the end, and then you can work. So if you want to do the whole thing, you just go around, and then in the end, you put the loop onto the peg. And that's it. It's quite simple. Okay, I just wanted to show you the bit that I've done. This is the garter stitch. You know, I picked this stitch for the jacket because it's quite close, you know. So you get quite a good weave, you know, tight weave when you use garter stitch. Of course, it's a bit tiresome because you have to work one row of purl and one row of knit, you see. But I think the jacket will look quite nice with this type of stitches on it, you know. I just used the chain cast on, and then I'm working on it, and we'll have to stop at around 15 to do the decreases. I just wanted to tell you the calculation for this. Now, if you want to take away 1 inch, I put it at about 18 stitches. You can, I think when you do garter stitches, about 16 to 17. But because I use the Knit UK loom, and the Knit UK loom is, because of the pegs are they are smaller than the big fat round pegs of the 41 loom that you normally see. So I got about 16 to 17, you see. So I'll be using a smaller gauge, but if you're using the round loom, it's about 18 inches, 41 pegs. So if you want 1 inch, which is how much you have to go in here, 1 times by 41 divided by 18 gives you 2 stitches. So you go in, remove, cast off 2 stitches, and then you work the row. Then when you come here, you cast off 2 stitches. Alright, then up here you need 7.5, which is about 17 stitches. How do I get 17 stitches? 7.5 multiplied by 41 divided by 18, and that will give you 17 stitches. So here was 41 stitches. You removed 4 stitches, giving you 37. 37 minus 17 gives you 20 stitches. So you have to, over 9 inches, reduce 10 stitches on each side. So do 1 stitch after every inch, and you should have the correct amount by the time you reach the top and have worked 24 inches. Okay? I finished the back. As you can see, the 1 inch indentation and the slope for the raglan. Now we'll work on the front. Okay, we finished the back, so we're going to work on the front. Now this is the front, one of the fronts. These are the 2 fronts actually. Okay, these are the 2 fronts, this one and this one. So we will work with this one first. Now up to you, how much you need to cast on here. I've decided to go between 10 to 11 inches. Now there is also the buttons here that you have to work, the buttonholes that you have to work in as you work the jacket. Okay, now first what we will have to do is you do a chain cast on. We're continuing with the garter stitch, and remember my pattern here, one part of it is going to be done in the dark brown, the mahogany, and the other one is in this dual colored yarn, because it has 1 strand of the cream and 1 strand of the mahogany, you see. So you have the brown, the dark brown, so it will change as it goes along. I will do 1 sleeve and 1 of the fronts in this shade, you see. Now after you do the chain cast on, you will have to do the buttonholes in the intervals that you choose. You see, you can either have 5 buttonholes or you can have 4. As I was saying earlier, you can either have 5 buttonholes or 4. Now I actually saw these buttons in, I think they were something similar to this in Amazon UK, see, but then they didn't want to, they said that they wouldn't send them to Italy, that the seller doesn't send to Italy, see. So I couldn't get these, and then I was walking around yesterday, and I came across one of those Chinese shops, where they sell all kinds of different kind of items, from household items to even sewing stuff. You even can get looms in them. And I came across these, but I only have 4 buttons, and they only cost €1, So these are the buttons I'll be using. So I won't have 5 buttons. I will only have 4. So whatever you do, the first button should be quite on top, you see. And then you space them out. And so when you come to the point, you work in the buttonhole. I will show you how to do a horizontal buttonhole when we come to the point where we're going to do the first buttonhole, you see. So here, this amount here, excuse me, sorry, is between, because also with the back, when I worked the back, I decided to make it slightly longer. Initially I had put it at 24 inches, right? But I made the bottom part about 16 so that I would end up with a 25-inch length overall. This part here I did not change, I just extended it slightly, Actually, as I finished the work, I found that I had 16 when I came up to the point where I was supposed to do this 1-inch indentation, So I'm going to do a 23.5-inch this part here, as you will notice, there is a slant here, right? And there is a slight, like a small little bump here, and then you've got the arm slope. And again, there is that 1 inch that goes in on both sides, okay? So, you know that this is 23.5, and you've got the first button here. So, after that, you have to go down for me, it should be, you can estimate this, if it's 4 buttons, to be every 5 inches. So, you make the first buttonhole if you calculate from the top, if you were to put it somewhere here, it's about a couple of inches down, you put the first button. So it's about 2-3 inches down, you put the first button. So you've got another 20 inches to go, right? So you put them every 5 inches. That means 5, 10, 15, 20. But this will go right to the bottom. So you put the top maybe slightly above so that you can have at least an inch from the bottom. So you move this to the 21st inch point, and so that you have 1 inch here, and you work that every 5 inches. But since you're going from the bottom up, after 1 inch you work in the buttonhole, and I'll show you how to do the buttonhole, and that's how you space out the buttonhole, and also how to get a buttonhole that will fit this exactly. Okay. Alright, so let's cast on and then work 1 inch, and then we'll come back and I'll show you how to do the horizontal buttonhole. And then later on I'll show you how to do and what is the calculation for these slopes. The curved neckline and then the slope for the arm, the raglan, because this is where the sleeves, raglan sleeve comes in, So we'll have to also work in the slant for this. To mention how much you'll have to cast on. So now, since I'm going for about 11 inches, if you want 10, I'll give you the calculation for 10 also. The loom, earlier on I used the loom, knit UK loom. I'll be switching over to the one with the fatter pegs for the front. And the calculation is the same. It's 18 inches gives you 41 pegs. So if you want 11 inches, it's 11 multiplied by 41 divided by 18, which gives you about 25 pegs. So cast on for 25 pegs. Work the garter stitch, which is after the cast on row, the chain cast on row, you work 1 row of purl, 1 row of knit. That is the base for a garter stitch, and you repeat the rows, 1 row of knit, 1 row of purl, all the way up to the top, and that will be the garter stitch. The reason I already explained why we're using the garter stitch, because it gives a much tighter weave to a jacket, and jacket generally you need to have a little tight if you want to keep yourself warm. You see, of course, if you're using it in spring or autumn, you wouldn't really need such a tight weave. That's why when I made the white jacket, one of my jackets, it's a white one on my channel, I had larger stitches, and the large stitch that I used was, I think it was mock crochet, and another one was the figure 8, and those all give a kind of a lacy, more open weave, So if it's more open weave, it'll give you less warmth, you see. But if you want something that can protect you in colder weather, you need something with a tighter weave, which the garter stitch does admirably. For 10 inches, if you want 10 inches, it is 10 multiplied by 41 divided by 18, which gives you about 23 stitches. So if you want 10 inches, you cast on 23 stitches on the round loom, the 41 peg round loom. Suppose you must be wondering why this one is 24 or 25 inches and this one is 22.5 or 23.5 the front. That is because here, this part here, the front, the sleeve comes, here. Look at this. This makes up the part that you're missing here. Sorry, this one. This is the one that will come here. This sleeve will come here, and this part here will come and join up here, and it will make up the balance that you need to get the height up to 25 or 24 or 25 inches. Okay? Just now I showed you the buttonhole that I created on this, right? I'm going to remove it, I'm going to make the dark brown as the one on the right, where the buttonholes are supposed to be, because earlier when we looked at it, excuse me, my allergy. So it looks more attractive if this is the part that is lying on the brown, you see, then the button looks nice. So I will convert this into, make this on the left hand side, and this will be on the right hand side. I'm working on the front, and I wanted to show you how to make the buttonhole for this button. Okay, now here I have decided, instead of working 3.5 from the bottom, I'm only going to do 2.5, and then what I have to show here is the garter stitch, right? So the garter stitch is 1 row of purl and 1 row of knit, and we are on the purl row now. So I'm going to show you how to do the buttonhole. You do the buttonhole because the buttonhole is going to come out here, because this is the front. All right, so this is the front, and so the buttonhole has to come out here. So when you work the purl, 2 stitches, 2 pegs before you finish, this is the end, you work this peg, you cast off this peg, and on the return knit row you put back the stitch, you see. So that is how you make a hole. Now I'll show you. Let's do the purl for this row. Take sufficient thread so that you're not straining the yarn and making it too tight. So let's start with the purl. Of course, at the awkward angle that I'm working on it, it's going to look weird. Okay, so let's work it for a bit, and then once I reach somewhere here, I'll come back. Now we are down to the last 3 stitches, these 3. So these 2 are going to form the edge of where the buttonhole is going to be here. So this particular stitch you cast off. So casting off, you just knit it and then take it and place it on this here. So what you have done is that you have done like a cast off, you know. So now this peg is free now, since you place the stitch from here to here, and take the bottom and put it over the top, and then do this. Okay, and then when you knit back, you redo the stitch. When you knit back, the next row is a knit, you know. 1 row of purl, 1 row of knit is how you do the garter. So the next row you knit back, you knit it, and what you do is that you create a stitch where you removed it earlier. Alright, and that will create the buttonhole. See, this is your buttonhole now. Alright, that's as easy as that. And so you do them at the regular intervals that you're supposed to do. Don't forget to do it, you know, because then you'll have to take it out, because you have to do the buttonhole for the button. Okay, when I was telling you earlier that if you wanted to make the whole sweater a little longer than the 24, that is 25, that means here you go up to 16 instead of 15. This part here, the 7.5 here, don't change this measurement. This one you keep it at 7.5. The one that you change is here. Here you bring it up to 16. So you can do the last buttonhole here, and then you work in the decrease here, that is of 1 inch. You decrease 2 stitches. Alright? If your buttonhole happens to be on the row that you have doing the knit though, so earlier, remember I told you you have to leave out 2 of the stitches. This is where the buttonhole is. You can see the buttonhole, the one that I made earlier. There, see that? This is the buttonhole that I've made earlier. Okay, it's quite a large buttonhole. And if you need an even bigger buttonhole than this, that means you want to have, maybe your pegs are smaller, your yarn is thinner, then you know you can take off more. You see, you just have to cast off more, and then on the return row you just cast them back on again. So this is the one where I'm going to do a buttonhole on the row where there is knitting, you know. It's a knit row instead of a purl row. So knit off the first one because it is the 3rd stitch. So this one use knit it also, but after you knit it, you take it and you place it on this loop here. Okay, then you knit it off. then you continue knitting, and on the return row, when you come back, you just you do this to knit back the stitch that you remove. Right now it is removed to make the hole. I want to explain to you how to work this slope here and this curve here. Now I also earlier when I did the calculations for the buttonholes, I made a slight error because I forgot that we're not actually taking up this measurement, which is about 22.5 inches and 23. When I gave you the calculation, I gave you about 20 to divide the buttonholes. Actually, I forgot that you've got this curvature and this is at the end. The buttonholes are at the bottom of this curvature. So you're going to lose the 2.5 inches here. So actually it's about 20-21 depending on whether you make it a 24 or a 25 inch sweater, you know. So for that, so you make the necessary adjustment and make sure that you are working this within about 19 inches, the buttonholes, and divide it evenly. Well, the main thing is to divide these buttonholes evenly and also to leave a little bit of space from the top. Don't put the last buttonhole right up here, you know, because it will look very awkward. You need to have at least an inch down, you know. So because you're starting from the bottom here, make sure that you make the adjustment so that you can have at least 1 inch from the top when you do the last buttonhole. Now here what you need to do is to create this slope. This slope is 7.5 inches and it moves in for about 4 inches. So here you need to take off 12 stitches over 7.5 inches. Try and make sure that when you remove the 12 stitches that you space it out evenly. Maybe after every half an inch you take out 1 stitch, and so that, you know, but when you go up a little bit, maybe you can move it up a bit to 1 inch, and then so that you can distribute the stitches, the cast off stitches evenly over 7.5, the 12 stitches. And here you take off 10 stitches over 2.5. So this one you might have to remove 2 stitches at a time because it's only 2.5 inch, but it has more of more stitches. Although here you have to remove 12 stitches, but you have longer distance, that is 7.5, but here you only have 2.5 inches for you to remove the 10 stitches. Then so when you're working the buttonholes, remember to do this indentation and this slope as you're working the buttonholes, and somewhere when you reach here you have to work this side and also this side, and that's how you get the shaping for this and the buttonhole for the right front. I thought I better explain this part to you again because this is important. When I gave you the calculation earlier, I think I made a slight error. Here you were supposed to remove that 1 inch right at the 16, or if you're, I mean, depending on whether you're doing it a slightly longer 25 or 24. If I, let's say I take the longer bit here, and here 11 inches and here 16. So at 16 inches you remove 2 stitches. Now up here you also have to leave 2 stitches after you've done the decrease here and here. So that's 4 stitches you minus out of the 25 stitches that you cast on. That will give you 21 stitches. Here you have to remove 12 stitches. So here you remove 9 stitches. 9 plus 12 will give you 21 stitches. Okay. So to remove the 21 stitches, you go at 16 inch, you remove 2 stitches. 17, 1 stitch. 17.5, 1 stitch, 18, 1 stitch, 19, 1 stitch, 19.5, 1 stitch, 20, 1 stitch, 21, 1 stitch. And on the right hand side you remove 2 stitches. This is for the neckline, this was for the sleeve. Then 21.5, 1 stitch, 21.5, 2 stitch, 22, 1 stitch, 22, 2 stitches, 22.5, 1 stitch, 22.5, 2 stitches. Now remember this thing, this whole front is only 23.5. okay, it's not the same as this, as I explained this to you before, because part of the sleeve comes on top, so it's 23.5. so you have to finish all the decreases before you reach 23.5. So the last bit here, I've made it 22.51 stitch. Then at 22, that means on the return row itself, you have to do one more stitch, and so that you can finish off at 23. And here at 23, you do the last one stitch to give you 9 stitches here, 12 stitches, and the 2 that you remove will give you 14 plus 9 gives you 23 stitches, leaving you a balance of 2 stitches on top here. So you will be left with, you cast off, the last bit will have 2 stitches on the very top. The remaining 2 stitches will remain behind. So you cast off 2 stitches. I have finished the front, as you can see, one side of it. This is the slope for the neck, okay, and this was the sleeve part, ending with the 1-inch indentation with the gradual decrease that you did here. Alright, this is the raglan where the sleeve is going to come. This is the curve of the neck, okay. Right, I hope you get that. And this is the rest of it. It's 23.5 from the very top. This is the little bit that, you know, I told you that little bit has to exist at right on top, and that one is it, okay, with the curve and the curve. Do the same for the other side, but reverse the shaping. Okay, now I'm going to give you the calculation for the sleeve. You'll have to do 2 sleeves with the shaping in opposite direction. One side the shaping is going in this direction, and the other one the shaping will go in the opposite direction, because each sleeve will come on one side of the different sides of the front, left and right. Okay, now please remember to do the shaping in opposite direction. Now here the shape here up here, they more or less meet in the center, you know. I've sort of simplified it by doing that. So we start off with a 10-inch cast on, that is 23 pegs on the 41 peg round loom. You cast on 23 pegs, then somewhere around in the center you just increase it until you get 25 pegs. That means one peg on each side, and you will end up with a 11-inch. It's a very, very small increase basically, and you end up with a 11-inch piece. At 17 inches, you go in 1 inch. That means you do 2 stitches off, take off. So you will be back again to 23 stitches. Then you slope these 2 slopes here. The taller slope is 8.5, and the shorter slope here is 7. Alright, so that means the distance between here to here is 1.5, which will make up the, because remember this was, when we did this earlier, was 23.5, right? So you need the 1.5 to add it up to become 25. If you started off with a 16 base instead of the 15, so the overall length of the garment should be around 25 inches. At the back this was 25 inches. So if you did 16 here, or 16, but if you did it as 15, it would have become 24. Whichever it is, that one will not change. This will still be 1.5 inch, the drop, you know. I was giving you the measurements when I said that you have to work this for 17 inches before you go in for that 1 inch indentation. It's actually 17.25, the distance between the start and where you do the indentation of the 1 inch, to match all these indentations here. All these have that 1 inch indentation. Now, if you're wondering which of these sleeves belong to which of the fronts, watch the slope. Now, this slope is from the left to the right, and this slope is also from the left to the right. So this is your left sleeve, and this slope that's going in this direction belongs to the right front. So if your right front is a solid color, make sure that this is also a solid color. If this is a mixed color, this becomes the mixed color. And I mean, I know the reason why you probably are going to be a bit confused is because I've laid the sleeves down on its side. If the sleeve is propped up in this direction, you will clearly see the curve will match up here. Okay, and also because the sleeve looked terribly bigger, much bigger than how the left front and right front look like, you know. That's because of the fact that there's so much more measurements that I have to cram into it. So that's the reason why the sleeves look bigger than the left front or even the back. Okay, so this sleeve, it comes up here and this one comes up here. Okay, let's talk about the reductions that you will have to do for the sleeve here, right? Now this reduction is done over 8.5 inches, and this one here is done over 7 inches because there is a 1.5 inch drop here. 8.5 minus 7 is 1.5, this one here. The same 1.5 that is here, that is missing from the front, you know, because it's 23.5, 1.5 to it will give you 25. So now how do we do these reductions? You have to remove 5 stitches from this side and 5 stitches from this side. Here you can do them after every 1.5 inch. So that will be 1.5 inch, 3, 4.5, 6. You've done 4, and the last one is at 7.5. You can do the same on this side, but by the time you reach 6, you've only got 1 inch left from the top. So at 6.5, you do the fifth stitch reduction. So that then you would have taken away 10 stitches here. With the 2 stitches that you've removed here, that will become 14 stitches that you've already taken away. And that will leave you with a balance of 11 stitches, which adds up to 25. Now 11 stitches here, you remove 2, 2, 2. I think you have to remove them every other row. So when you reach the last one, you do 2 over 5 times, you do it 2, 2, 2, but the last one you only remove 1 stitch, so that you get a total of 9 stitches, leaving you with a balance of 2 stitches on top here. Alright, now whatever way that you are going to do these reductions, whether you do it after 1 inch, 1.5 inch, or after every row, whatever you do, you have to be constant. In what I mean is that if you do one way in one sleeve, make sure that when you do the other sleeves that you're also doing the same way. Don't do it after 2 inches here and then 1.5 inch here, because then it will be very obvious that your sleeves do not match. So if you want to have a formula, stick to the formula and carry it and do it in reverse for this particular sleeve. Okay, so here there is from up here to here where your 1 inch goes in, the height here is 8.5 and here is 7 inch. So overall from here to the top is 8.5. So your whole sleeve is 17.25 here and 8.5 up top. Okay, I wanted to show you because earlier I gave you the measurements to do the thing at 1.5 inch intervals, right? But to give you the overall length with the 17.25, you do the decreases 1 stitch on each side. At the first one, after 17.25, divide, add on 1.5, you'll get 18.75. 18.75 plus 1.5 is 20.25. So each of these, you do the decreases 1 stitch on each side. 20.25, it will go up to 21.75. The next stitch, that's the third. Fourth stitch is at 23.25. The one on the longer side, you will stop at 24.75. But for the one on the shorter side, you will stop at 23.75. Okay, 23.75, because it's only 7 on this side, and here you can go a little longer, but here there's only 7. 7 is about 24.25. So if you stop at 23.75 for the shorter side, you will stop just short of the top. Okay, so this is for the sleeve, the decreases, the 5 stitch decreases on each side. Wondering what all these indentations are, you know, the one that you find on the back, on the sleeve, everywhere you have these indentations. Actually, the reason why they do this in a close fitting garment, one that once you want it to fit properly, like this kind of a jacket, this is a very close fitting jacket. You do this because you don't want any uncomfortable underarm lumps, you know. so that when you join these, they will form a very smooth bottom for you. So when you move your arm, it won't rub against your sides very roughly, you know. And that is the reason why so that you don't have this extra wool bump, you know, which is very uncomfortable to wear, especially with thick wool, you know, like the one we are using for this jacket, you know. And also the kind of stitches, because these are not stockinette stitches, they are garter stitches, and garter stitches are very thick, you know. They are not like stockinette. Stockinette is a little flatter. Garter, because of the bumps, the pearl bumps, you have a thicker stitch, you know. Each of those stitches are a little thicker. So that is the reason why you use this type of shaping, you know. You will see this in all kind of garments, even in dressmaking clothing. So they make this kind of little thing so that you don't have, when you're wearing something close fitting, you don't have these problems. See, that's why you have everywhere you have that 1 inch going in, you know, to cut in. There's one other thing I forgot to mention or make it clear to you, you know, when you're doing this last stitch here, and you've got like 1 inch more to do the last decrease here, right? When you stop here, you still have to start with the immediate 3 stitched or 2 stitch decreases here, you know. So you're not really stopping and then not doing anything, because the decrease of the large decrease that you got to do here over 1.5 inch is on this side, you know, the side that is lower. It's not on this side. This side goes up to the top, you know. After the last stitch, the 5 stitches that you've done, the 5th stitch, you finish here. Whereas on this side, you have to continue with the very like 9 stitches you have to remove here. So, you know, you see how much 1.5 rows. If you've got like 7 rows or something like that, maybe you can take off 2 stitches every now and then. Every row, you should know. Every other row, you can take off 3 stitches, or somehow try and work it out for the 9 stitches. Yeah, 3 stitches every other row should be able to, you can remove all the 9, leaving you 2 stitches on top. Okay? Okay, I finished this. Just wanted to show you the shape. There. This is the top part, the shaping for the top. This is the side shape, and this is the other stitch removal for the side, you know. This is the 1 inch indentation that went in. Okay. Now here it's exactly 11 inches, and here it's exactly 10 inches. And the overall length is 25.5 of the sleeve. Like I explained to you, this particular sleeve starts from the top of the shoulder, you know, sorry, top of the neck. That's why it's 25.5, the length of this raglan sleeve. Okay, now we'll do the other side. Remember to reverse the shaping for the other side. Now, even if you make a mistake, you don't really have to worry, because the garter stitch, it's the same at the back and in front. So even if you did make a mistake and made both of them the same side, you can just turn it over and use the other side if you've made a mistake. That's the beauty of the garter stitch. See the sleeve, the full sleeve, as you can see. Now it does look like the way that I drew it, no? Just wanted to show you what it looks like. Another thing, when you're measuring all these kind of things, like especially the sleeve, which is not a very wide piece, make sure that you don't stretch the piece, you know, the whatever you've worked on, you know. In fact, you push it slightly like this. Push it slightly, and then you do the measurements, you know. And don't ever try to stretch it out more than it is, you know, because you will end up with a shorter sleeve than you're supposed to, you know. Like here it's 18 3/4. It's my first of the 5 stitches that I'm supposed to reduce. Okay, so now when you do this, because when you take it up because of the weight and you lay it flat like this, sometimes it has a tendency to be longer than what it is. So what you do is you push your hand, make it more compact, so that when you do the measurement, it is not reflective of the fact that you have just lifted it and the weight has pulled it down, you see. Because once you lay it flat, and when the measurement is to be done, the piece, the item itself must not be stretched out, you see. The measurement must be done without the stretching out. So that will be the accurate measurement. And this is something that's often forgotten, or sometimes people actually pull slightly when they are measuring the length, you know. Don't do that. This is how it's supposed to be joined, okay? That's the front is joined to the sleeve. You can see the curve of the neck here, okay? This is the back piece, joined to the other sleeve, joined to the front. Again, you can see the curve of the neck there. And this is the whole neckline. We have to join everything up first. I'll show you bits of the joining, especially the part where you join that little indentation. And then we will add the collar. We can only do the collar after we have seen how far this neckline is. Then we have to follow that and give a measurement for the collar. And we'll also do 2 side pockets. Okay? Okay. Now the first thing you have to do is to take the back piece right side up and take your sleeve, because the back piece joins to the sleeve first and then the sleeve joins to the front. Take the longer side, not the one which has the curve of the neck. Put it side by side to this. Okay. Take a yarn, go through one side of the back. Make sure your right side is right side up, and this one is also, well, this one supposed to be, this is the right side of the sleeve line, because of the colors are supposed to match. Now you go into the idea is, you can see here, there is a smile, now a frown and a smile. This is a smile, this is a frown. The idea is to go on one side, you go through a frown, and the other side you go through a smile, or here you go through a smile and the other side you go through a frown. So here we put this part together, the 2 sides, the indentations, put them together. Here you have gone through the thing, go through the edge of this one also, so that both sides you are on the right track. Now from there you go through a frown. I think it's a frown. Yeah. No, it's a smile. This side is a smile. Then you go over to the opposite side and you go through a frown on the other side. Go back here, go through a smile, go through a frown. Okay? And then you pull it slightly. It should join almost seamlessly as you work it. Alright, now you can, there are several videos on YouTube, and you can use one of those videos. This should fit properly, it should come up exactly correct. See, it comes up exactly correct to the end. If your measurements are all correct, this all should fit exactly, shouldn't have any excess. So you keep on doing smile, frown every time, and you should have no problems. Keep on doing that, and as you work you will join the pieces together. Right? If you are not very confident that you're going to have your sides matching, then what you do is you put pins, before you start, so that you can at intervals they will always be correctly aligned, before you start joining the frowns to the smiles. This is a smile. The one that's going this way is a smile, and the other one is a frown. Okay? Join smiles to frowns. Smile here, frown here, or frown here, smile here. Okay, this is the join I've done of the sleeve and the back. Now, the trick to doing a good join is very simple. Take it out as many times as you need to until you are satisfied with the look. Alright? That's what you have to do. take it out as many times as you need to until you are happy with how it looks. Okay, one other thing, in case you're wondering why this joint doesn't look like the raglan joint, it's very simple. It's because it's garter to garter, you know. The raglan sleeves that you see normally, which has got a chain, two chains joined together like that, is because both sides are stocking net, you see. So with stocking net you can get that chain braid, you know, along here. With garter you can't, you won't manage to get that. Okay, once you have joined all the pieces, that is the front, the sleeve, the back, the front again, and the other sleeve, the sleeve and then the front, you measure from about here, give a bit of space, about this much space. You measure from here all round until you reach somewhere, the front here, again somewhere in the front, because you have to leave a bit where the buttons and the closing is. You got to leave it. This is for the collar. Okay, now I found that mine, when I tried this on, was a little too wide, so I'm going to scrunch up a bit here and there when I join the collar in, so that I can reduce the neckline, you see, because it was a bit too wide. So I've got a measurement of about 28. So you divide that by 2, you should get about 14 inches. So 14 inches, what you do is that you, 28 is half of that is 14 inches. So you cast on 14 inches on the round loom, and one side will be straight and one side will have a bit of a slant. The slant, maybe you increase 2 stitches on that side. Make 2 pieces identical in garter stitch, about 4 or 5 inches in width, and then where the straight bit is, you join the 2 collar bits together so that you get one whole collar, and that will be 28 inches. And then you join back the collar to this neckline. Okay, because the reason why you have to divide it by half is because my loom, the round loom, won't be able to work a 28-inch collar, you see. Of course, if you're using one of those larger Afghan looms or Sindhi wood looms or whatever, you can work the whole collar on the loom. But and then you'll have to do the slants on both sides. Okay, so the smaller side is the one that will be joined to this, and the bigger part will be where the shoulder flops over, sorry, the collar flops, you know, and that part will be the wider bit. That's how it looks all joined up. Okay, and so you take the whole collar, and remember I told you that my collar was a bit too big, so I intend to add the joints. I intend to when I join the collar, I'm gonna kind of squeeze it a little smaller, so that maybe I can reduce a few inches of far too wide. So you know, it's kind of, I have like a very large neck line even with the collar, so I'm gonna do that with the collar. Good thing I can do that. See that the neck is a bit too big, no? Now this is how it looks once it's made up. And we're going to put the pocket somewhere here, so you can sew up a little bit, leave a gap, and close up the sides, you know. But with this gap, you work the one pocket in this color and one pocket in this color. I mean, of course, if you're doing it all in one shade, then you just work the pocket in the shade. What you do is that you just make something that will be big enough for you. When you put your hand in, it can slide in, you know. So you just check and see how much you need. If you put your hand in, use that and make a rectangle and join the rectangle one side here and the other side there, and sew up the sides, and you have yourself a pocket. Do 2 of that. Collar, this is what I meant, you know, by doing half the collar. You cast on the bottom bit of about 12.5. Mine is around that. I mean, it depends on what you measure your collar. Maybe you made yours smaller, so you might not have the same measurements, you see. So you cast on half of what the collar is, and then you increase it only on one side. Then you make 2 of this and join them here with the mattress stitch. So you get a complete collar when you're done. Okay? This is the straight part of the collar. It's 4 inches. This is only half the collar, okay? And with a slight increase on this side, I increased 3 stitches in all. I used the Knit UK loom, which is this loom, you know, which has got the thinner pegs, you know. So of course my measurements are different from the main part of the jacket, which I used the thicker pegs on, you know. So this one I finished, I did about 24 rows, but of course it's not indicative of what you will need, you see, because depending on your loom and your measurements. But this is about the measurements that I wanted for my neckline. You see, you have to measure your neckline and tailor the collar to the neckline. So you have to do 2. One with the slant on this side, straight one side. The other one will be the other way, like this. It will have a straight bit on this side with a slant on the other side, okay? So 2 collars, and then you will join them at the straight side once you have fixed it onto the jacket. Here, as you can see, I have put the collar, I have pinned the collar. What you do is you mark the back, the exact center of the back, and you pin the collar to the, with the wider bit at the bottom, you know, the part where it goes wider, you put at that. You give about this much space away from the edge, and you do the same for the other side, and then you join the collar here when the other one comes on the other side. I've only done one so far, but you can see that that's how the collar looks, okay? This will be closed up in front later. Alright. I'm doing the collar. This is how the collar flops, okay, in this direction. I tried doing the stitching on this side, the side that's going to be exposed, and it didn't look very good, you know. So I decided, but anyway, it won't really be noticeable because you're going to not exactly fold it this way. You know, your collar will probably lie like this, you see. So this is not really going to be noticeable. I'm working it from the back. I did the reduction for the front here, this part here. This part was okay, you know, the front was all right. But when I did for the sleeve, I think I made the drop too much, you know. The 1.5 inch. Maybe I should have gone for like 3/4 inch and not 1.5, you see. So I think that is the fault why my neckline is a little too large. Okay, now I've got that and I haven't got a hole anymore. See, no hole. Now I can go back and proceed with the... Don't you just love my needle? Way. And well, this is not really a very good demonstration of mattress stitch because you can't even see the stitches very well. You have to be careful with what you're pulling, you know, because you can get caught on another thread. I hope you're understanding what I'm doing. See, I've caught on to a next one now. Try not to do that, you know, because you fray the thread when you do that. Okay, so every time check the back and see how it's going. All right, now, and then you continue. It's very important that you place pins or some way so that you don't make mistakes, you know, when you're joining the collar to the back until you reach the center here. And don't forget to join the 2 bits of the collar together here. The 2 straight parts, join them together here at the back. Okay? After you're finished joining the collar, or before you start on the next one, finish this part here and then join the other collar to the body of the jacket. Okay? Here is the collar. I've sewn it in place. Okay? And if you were to use it, you would have it like that, and then you put the button somewhere here inside, and so that these 2 meet. These 2 collars meet. Okay? Now all that's left is to do the pockets here, and we would be done with the jacket. When you join the garter to garter, the one with the frown and the smile, this is where the join is, you know. But you can't see it, right? Look at it. It's like a perfect join. It doesn't even show that there is a join there. Okay? This is where the join is. Okay, now that's how you match the smiles with the, see? The smiles and the frowns, so that you can't see that you have actually joined the garter. This is how you work a seamless garter mattress stitch. Okay? This is the pocket. I have cast on 13 stitches on the larger peg loom, you know, not the Knit UK. And at the center, I did one row of I did twisted stockinette because the pocket is going to be inside the sweater, you know, it's not going to be outside the sweater. So it does. What I meant is that, you see here, I did one row of pearl here in the center of the, because it's 11 inches, with 5.5 and 5.5, because the pocket itself is 5.5 here across, and half of it is also 5.5, so you make it 11 inches. So at the center point, I did a row of pearl because I wanted to make it a little bit more thicker at the end of the pocket, you know, where the pocket bends. Now if you sew up this side and this side, then you join one side of this to the front and you join the other side to the back. Now here I did the cast on row, and then I did one row of pearl, and before I cast off also I did one row of pearl here. This is a pearl stitch I just finished. This is 11 inches. So you can choose either to sew up the edges here, these two edges, after you have joined the pocket to the jacket, or you can choose to sew it up now and then just join this part to the pocket, the space that you have given for the pocket. One second, I'll show you the space I've given. I joined everything here and I left this much of it free, you know, and this is where I've given about this much. So I will, from here to here, I will sew up and the pocket will come here. So you join one side of the pocket to this side and one side here, so that you can put your hand in, okay, and do the other one for the other side. I've decided to do both of them the same color. That will be the dark brown. Okay, after you've done that, you just do up the buttons and the jacket will be done. I just wanted, I know I've said this before on my other videos, so those of you who have seen my other videos will probably get bored of me saying this, but when you do these kind of big projects like this, you know, with collar, jacket that is long like this, my advice is that you don't pick very complicated stitches to do it, you know, because it's already difficult enough with all the shaping and also the various sides of the shaping that you have to keep in mind, that you're working on this side, then you've got a little bit more there to do and different amounts to cast off, you know. Now when you've got things like that, it doesn't help for you to have complicated stitches also to work for the jacket, you see. Now if you want to make this jacket longer, you can, and then the end of it you could leave a split, you know, like this. You don't have to join up. If you make a very long jacket, at the end of it, you leave the thing not joined like this, a split like that. It kind of looks very sexy, you know, very nice. So you can make a long jacket with the same pattern, just make it longer and then split the side like that. And then it will look very pretty. Hope you like this pattern. I'll come back and with the buttons and I'll show you how it looks. The size of the pocket. Okay, see, your hand can go inside, and this is the don't know whether you can see or not. This is exactly where I did the pearl. You see, it's at the bottom of the pocket. Don't know whether you can see. Yeah, there. Okay, you can see that, no? It's the bottom of the pocket where the pearl is. See, in between the stockinette stitches, this is the pearl, and it's exactly at the center of the pocket. Okay, so the amount that I didn't sew is, you leave a gap for the side, that is the front and the back, you don't join for about 9 inches, okay? 9.5 like that, okay? From the top, 9 inches. Okay, now you take the pocket, open the flap, put one part of the pocket here and join all along here to the back of the jacket. And then take this part and join it all the way here in front. Okay, then take this and close it from here to here. You close it and you now have a pocket. You can put your hand inside. It's a bit and don't forget to join the sides. Once you've done that, you can put your like a hand phone or a handkerchief inside, but you can't put anything pokey, you know, because it's kind of big, the hole, you know, in between. So don't put any pens or anything or coins inside there, you know. So that's your pocket. Stitching this, when you are stitching this, make sure that you make the stitching very firm, because it's going to enhance the fact that you're going to have a lot of wear and tear on the pocket, because you're going to be putting your hand in and out of the pocket. So make the joint as hard as possible, in the sense that as firm as possible. Some of the stitches you go in and out double time, you know, so that you can have a very firm join here, and so that it won't come out. And also reinforce this area, the two areas where it is joined to the pocket. Okay guys, this is the final piece, and I just wanted to show you the details, you know. This is the collar. Okay, the buttons are in place. Okay, I know I made a slight mistake with the buttonholes here. I think you guys have to do a better job than I did on this part. Okay, now let me show you the pocket. See? Pocket. Okay, one here. Now it'll be slightly bulky here because the material of the pocket is wool, you know. If you use cloth or something like that, it'll probably be flatter. This is the other pocket. Okay? Okay, you can see that. So you have two pockets, and I call this my Harlequin jacket only because of the way that it cuts up the design. You know, one side is one color and the other side is the other color. So this is my Harlequin jacket. I'm going to put a hook here, you know, so that it can close up right to the top, you know, because after all it's a winter jacket, you know. So yeah guys, this is a winter jacket. I know we are almost reaching summer and I'm showcasing a winter jacket, but you know, next winter you can try to make this, and hopefully you're successful. I hope you like this pattern. Try it out, and happy looming.